In the spiral arm of the Andorak galaxy, where stars burn like scattered diamonds against the infinite void, size has always determined worth. The Galactic Consortium, a sprawling alliance of over 400 species, operates on a simple, brutal principle. The largest, strongest, most physically imposing races rule from the top, while the smaller, weaker creatures scrape for survival at the bottom. For 3 millennia, this hierarchy has remained unshaken, carved in stone as surely as the laws of physics themselves. At the apex sit the Gorvahi, titans standing 12 feet tall, their chitinous exoskeletons gleaming like obsidian armor, mandibles capable of crushing steel. Their homeworld, Korvath Prime, is a death trap of crushing gravity, acid storms, and predators that would make nightmares weep. The Gorvahi didn't just survive this hell, they conquered it, then conquered everything else. Below them, the hierarchy descends in perfect order. The Zenthkar, crystalline beings of living mineral, tower at 9 feet. The Murthak, aquatic leviathans with tentacles thick as tree trunks, dominate the ocean worlds. The Krystal, insectoid hive minds with razor wings and poison stingers, swarm across their territories with mechanical precision. Each species knows its place. Each understands the natural order. Until today, the Hegemony's Pride flagship of the Gorvaxi First Fleet drifts through the void like a predator scenting blood. Its hull stretches for 7 kilometers, bristling with weapons that could crack moons. Within its command center, Fleet Commander Thekmor studies the holographic display with eyes like burning coals. "Report," his voice rumbles, each word a barely controlled avalanche. Science Officer Yextal, a smaller Gorvaki with silver-streaked carapace, manipulates the hologram with clawed appendages. The probe signals originate from grid sector 7749 Delta. Unknown stellar system. 3 rocky planets, 2 gas giants. The third planet shows unusual readings. Define unusual. Yixtal's mandibles click nervously. Massive biodiversity. Atmospheric composition suggests a world teeming with life. Gravity approximately 0.97 standard. But Commander, he pauses, antennae twitching. The electromagnetic signatures indicate primitive technology, pre-warp civilization. Thalakmor's laugh is like grinding metal. Another world of prey species, how disappointing. Still, new territory means new resources. Set course. We'll catalog whatever crawls on that rock, then claim it for the consortium. The Hegemony's Pride alters course, its massive engines carving through space-time itself. Behind it, a fleet of 40 vessels follows, cruisers, destroyers, science ships, all bearing the crimson banner of Gorvak supremacy. None of them suspect they're flying toward their own doom. On the third planet, a blue-green marble the inhabitants call Earth, Dr. James Corvin stands in the forest clearing, morning mist swirling around his boots. At 5'8" and 160 pounds, he cuts an unremarkable figure against the towering redwoods. His weathered face bears the lines of a man who spent decades in remote places, studying creatures others fear to approach. But it's not Corvan that should terrify the approaching aliens. It's what lies beside him in the shadows. The shape shifts, massive and graceful, muscles rippling beneath a coat that seems to absorb light itself. Golden eyes flick toward Korvad with intelligence that transcends mere animal instinct. This is no pet. This is a collaboration forged over 15 years of mutual respect, trust earned through countless shared dangers. "Easy, girl," Corvin murmurs, his hand resting on the creature's flank. "Something's got you spooked." Luna, named for the crescent marking above her left eye, weighs 800 pounds of pure predatory evolution. Siberian tiger crossed with something primal, something that evolution spent millions of years perfecting into the ultimate killing machine. Her ancestors stalked the ice fields when humanity was learning to make fire. Now she rests beside a man who understands her language better than most humans understand each other. Above them, the sky begins to change. The Gorvaki fleet enters Earth's system with the subtlety of an avalanche. Their arrival sends electromagnetic pulses racing through space, detected immediately by every radio telescope and satellite humanity has scattered across their solar system. Deep Space Monitoring Station Gamma, hidden in an asteroid field, transmits frantic warnings to Earth Command. Multiple contacts, massive displacement signatures. They're They're huge. On Earth, emergency protocols activate. Military bases go to high alert. World leaders huddle in secure bunkers, while astronomers point every available instrument skyward, trying to comprehend what's approaching their world. But in the forest, Corvan notices none of this chaos. His attention focuses entirely on Luna, whose behavior has shifted into something he's seen only once before, when they'd stumbled across a wounded grizzly protecting cubs. Every muscle beneath her coat coils like a spring. Her breathing slows to the rhythm predators use just before they strike. "What is it, girl?" he whispers. Luna's response is a sound that shouldn't exist, too deep for any earthly cat, too controlled for any wild animal. It's a warning, a threat, and a promise, all rolled into frequencies that make Corvan's bones vibrate. Above them, the first Gorvax scout ship breaches the atmosphere. Fleet Commander Thakmore studies the initial survey data with growing amusement. Bipedal species, Yextel reports. Average height between 5 and 6 standard units. Minimal physical augmentation. No natural armor, claws or defensive capabilities. They appear to have domesticated various other species, primitive mammals mostly. Domesticated, Thakmore's mandibles spread in what passes for a Gorvaki grin. These creatures are so weak they require other animals for protection? It would seem so, Commander. Energy readings suggest they've developed basic nuclear technology, primitive spaceflight, but nothing approaching our capabilities. Initial behavioral analysis indicates they form pair bonds in small social groups. Thakmore's laugh booms through the command center. Pair bonds. How quaint. What manner of predators rule this world if not these pitiful bipeds? Yextel's antennae twitch as he reviews more data. That's curious, Commander. The dominant predators appear to be something called felines, various subspecies, but the largest specimens rarely exceed 300 kilograms. Hardly apex predators by consortium standards. 300 kilograms? Thakmore can barely contain his mirth. On Corvac Prime we use creatures that size as appetizers. These humans, is that what they call themselves? Must be the weakest sapient species we've ever encountered. Around the command center, other Gorvaxi officers exchange amused clicks and rumbles. The idea of a species so pathetic they fear creatures weighing less than a Gorvaxi infant strikes them as cosmic comedy. Shall we begin standard first contact protocols? Yextel asks. Oh yes. Thakmore's eyes gleam. I'm curious to see how these tiny creatures react when they meet their new masters. Deploy the diplomatic shuttle. Full ceremonial display. I want them to understand immediately where they stand in the universal order. The shuttle-crushing Talon detaches from the flagship, its hull gleaming with polished armor plating and weapon systems designed to intimidate. As it descends toward Earth's surface, automated systems select the perfect landing site, an isolated area where the inhabitants can be studied without interference. The coordinates point directly to Dr. James Corvan's research station. Corvan feels the ground trembling before he sees the ship. Luna's behavior escalates from alert to combat-ready, her massive frame lowering into a crouch that speaks of imminent violence. Every instinct honed by millions of years of evolution screams that something wrong approaches, something that doesn't belong in her territory. The ship emerges from the tree line like a metallic mountain, its hull reflecting the afternoon sun in ways that hurt to look at directly. As it settles into the clearing with hydraulic precision, trees snap like matchsticks beneath its landing struts. Corvan backs against a redwood trunk, his heart hammering, but his hand never leaves Luna's flank. Whatever's inside that ship, they'll face it together. The hull splits with mechanical precision, revealing an entrance ramp that could accommodate a freight train. Steam hisses from hidden vents, and the air fills with the scent of ozone and alien metals. Then they emerge. The first Gorvaka to step into Earth's sunlight stands 12 feet of pure nightmare. Its exoskeleton gleams like black diamond, mandibles clicking with sounds like breaking bones. 6 legs move with the fluid grace of a born predator, while 4 arms manipulate devices that clearly represent technology centuries beyond human achievement. Behind it comes another, then another until 5 of the creatures stand in the clearing, their bulk making the ancient redwood seem small. Corvan's mind reels. His anthropological training kicks in, analyzing, cataloging. trying to make sense of what he's seeing. Clearly intelligent, obviously predatory, and absolutely enormous. But it's their reaction to him that proves most telling. The lead creature, presumably their commander, looks down at Corvin with what can only be described as amusement. Its mandibles spread in an expression that needs no translation, contempt mixed with pity. When it speaks, its voice emerges from a translation device with perfect English syntax, though the tone carries undertones of barely suppressed laughter. Greetings, small creature. I am War Commander Drakush of the HFY 1st Legion. By the authority of the Galactic Consortium, I claim this world and all its inhabitants under hegemony protection. You and your species will be catalogued, processed, and assigned appropriate labor categories based on your physical capabilities. Corvin's throat works soundlessly. The magnitude of what's happening, first contact with an alien species, and apparently a hostile one, overwhelms his ability to respond. Drakush continues, his tone growing more amused. Your species appears remarkably fragile. We've studied your physiology from orbit. Minimal defensive capabilities, laughably small stature, no natural weapons. Tell me, tiny one, what manner of creatures do you fear on this world? What predators forced your evolution towards such compact dimensions? The question hangs in the air like a challenge. Corvadam finally finds his voice, though it emerges as barely more than a whisper. We don't have many natural predators anymore. No? Drakush's mandibles click with mirth. Then what is that creature beside you? Some manner of companion animal? A pet to provide comfort for your diminutive species? For the first time since the aliens emerged, Corvadam looks down at Luna. The tiger hasn't moved during the entire exchange. She remains in her combat crouch, every muscle coiled, golden eyes fixed on the lead alien with an intensity that could melt steel. But it's not fear in those eyes. It's the look of an apex predator studying prey. A fact. Corvin's voice grows steadier, and something that might be a smile touches his lips. No, Luna's not a pet. Then what is it? Drakush demands, his amusement beginning to fade as something in Corvin's tone registers as wrong. Corvin's hand moves to rest on Luna's head, his fingers threading through fur that seems to absorb light. When he speaks again, his voice carries the quiet confidence of a man who has spent 15 years partnership with evolution's most perfect predator. She's my friend. Drakush all laugh booms across the clearing. Friend? You befriend your food animals? How charmingly primitive. No doubt this Luna provides protection against the larger predators of your world. Actually, Corvadam says softly, Luna is the larger predator. The alien's laughter cuts off abruptly. For the first time since emerging from their ship, the HFY really look at the creature beside the small human. What they'd dismissed as an oversized pet begins to resolve into something else entirely. 800 pounds of muscle and bone, claws that extend like curved daggers, teeth designed for crushing spines and tearing through flesh, eyes that hold intelligence and patience, and a hunter's perfect calm. And beneath it all, barely contained, barely restrained, the coiled fury of a creature that has never in the entire history of its bloodline backed down from a fight. Luna rises to her full height. The HFY step backward involuntarily, their amusement transforming into something approaching concern. Even through their cultural arrogance, some primitive part of their brains recognizes what they're looking at. Apex predator. That is your planet's dominant predator. Drakush's voice has lost its mocking tone. One of them, Corvin replies calmly, though not the most dangerous one. What could be more dangerous than? Corvin's smile widens, showing teeth that, while small by HFY standards, seem suddenly far more threatening than they should. We are. The words hang in the air like a death sentence. Luna's warning rumble begins deep in her chest, a sound that speaks of ice ages and ancient hunts, of prey that ran and predators that always caught them. Drakush raises his weapon, an energy rifle capable of melting through starship armor, but his hands shake slightly as he aims it at the massive feline. Stand down, creature, or I will. Luna moves, not toward the alien holding the weapon, not toward the obvious threat. She flows like liquid shadow toward the alien standing furthest from Corvin, the one who represents the safest target, the tactical choice that every predator understands instinctively. The Gorvaki's reflexes are fast, superhuman by any standard. Luna is faster. 800 pounds of evolved killing machine cover the distance in a heartbeat, claws extended, jaws opening to reveal teeth that have crushed the skulls of creatures far larger than any Gorvaki. The alien's scream cuts through the afternoon air, a sound no human was ever meant to hear, the death cry of a species that thought itself apex. Draka spins toward the attack. Weapon tracking, finger tightening on the trigger that will turn Luna into superheated vapor. Luna, stop. Korvan's voice cuts through the chaos with quiet authority. Luna stops. Her claws rest against the fallen alien's throat, drawing pinpricks of blue blood. Her jaws remain open, hot breath washing over chitinous armor. But she doesn't complete the kill. She waits. The clearing falls silent except for the harsh breathing of terrified aliens and the steady, controlled rhythm of a predator holding itself in check. Korvan walks slowly toward the frozen tableau, his movements careful, non-threatening. When he reaches Luna's side, he rests his hand on her massive shoulder. "Good girl," he murmurs. "That's enough." Luna steps back, her eyes never leaving the alien beneath her claws. Dracosh and his remaining soldiers stare in shock that transcends species barriers. What they've just witnessed shouldn't be possible. A predator of that size, that lethality, responding to verbal commands from a creature it could kill without effort. It violates everything they understand about the natural order. How? Dracosh's voice emerges as barely more than a whisper. Korvan looks up at the towering alien, and for the first time it's the human who seems larger. "You asked what we fear on this world," he says quietly. "The answer is nothing. Not anymore. We don't fear our predators, Commander. We partner with them. We earn their respect. And when necessary..." Luna's rumble deepens, a sound that makes the alien warriors step back despite their weapons and armor. "We become them." Dracosh's mandibles work soundlessly as the implications crash over him like a tsunami. A species that doesn't fear their world's apex predators. A species that forms alliances with creatures capable of killing them. A species... The translation device crackles as incoming transmissions flood the alien commander's communications array. Frantic reports from the orbiting fleet, scanner readings that don't make sense, data that contradicts everything they thought they knew about this small, blue world. "Commander," Yextel's voice screams through the communicator. "Emergency readings from the surface. We're detecting massive predatory species across the entire planet. Creatures larger than anything in our databases. Commander, this isn't a world of prey species. This is a death world." Dracosh looks down at the small human standing beside his impossible predator companion, and understanding dawns like the light of a dying star. They haven't discovered a weak species to be enslaved. They've stumbled into the hunting ground of something far more dangerous than they ever imagined. And the hunt has just begun. Aboard the hegemony's pride, panic spreads through the command center like wildfire through dry grass. Fleet Commander Thakmor studies the incoming data streams with growing horror, his massive claws leaving gouges in the metal console. The orbital scans reveal a truth that shakes the foundation of everything the Gorvaki believe about the natural order of the universe. "Report," he bellows, his voice cracking with barely controlled fury. Science Officer Yixtal's antennae tremble as he manipulates the holographic displays. "Commander, initial surface scans were incomplete. The electromagnetic interference from the planet's magnetic field masked the true readings. Now that we're closer, the hologram shifts, revealing a three-dimensional map of Earth's surface. Red markers bloom across every continent like spreading disease, each one representing a predatory species large enough to register on their sensors. The largest specimens, Yextel's voice fails him. Spick, Thakmor roars. 60-foot serpentine creatures in the waters, multi-ton predators across the land masses, flying hunters with wingspans exceeding our shuttlecraft. Commander, this world didn't produce a weak species. It produced survivors. Communications Officer Coxtel interrupts, his captain pale with fear. "Commander, we're receiving distress signals from Landing Team 3. Commander Dracosh reports engagement with hostile natives." "Hostile?" Thakmor's laugh is bitter as acid. 5 Gorvaki warriors against primitive bipeds barely half our size. What could they possibly— Sir, Kektul's voice drops to a whisper. The hostiles aren't the bipeds. The main screen flickers to life, showing the feed from Draca's helmet camera. The image is stable despite the commander's rapid breathing, revealing the clearing where first contact has become something else entirely. Thakmor sees his warriors, the finest soldiers in the consortium, veterans of a dozen conquest campaigns backing away from a single human who barely reaches their chest plates. And beside the human, ancestors preserve us. Yextel breathes. The creature stands motionless, but its stillness is that of a coiled spring, a loaded weapon waiting for the moment to unleash devastation. 800 pounds of pure predatory evolution, muscles visible beneath a coat that seems to absorb light itself, golden eyes that hold intelligence and patience and the absolute certainty of a hunter that has never known defeat. But it's not the creature itself that freezes Thakmor's blood. It's the way it responds to the human's voice. Partnership, alliance. Not domination, but collaboration between species that should be natural enemies. Play back the engagement sequence, Thakmor orders, his voice barely steady. They watch in stunned silence as the massive feline moves with speed that makes their enhanced reflexes seem sluggish. Watch as it targets the tactically optimal opponent, executing a perfect predatory strike. Watch as it stops at a single word from its human companion. Control, but not the control of master over slave. The control of trust between equals. How fast did it move? Thakmor asks. Yextel's claws dance across his instruments. Analysis indicates 17 meters per second. From standstill. That's impossible. No creature that size should be capable of— Commander, Kikthul interrupts, his voice tight with fear. We're receiving similar reports from scout teams across the planet. Every landing party has encountered these humans in the company of massive predators. And, sir, they're all responding the same way. The same way? The predators are taking orders from creatures a fraction of their size. The command center falls silent except for the hum of ship systems and the distant chatter of increasingly frantic communications from the surface teams. Thakmor stares at the tactical display, showing dozens of Gorvaki units scattered across Earth's surface, each one represented by a blue dot. And around each blue dot, red markers bloom like flowers of death, predators beyond counting, beyond comprehension. Sir, Yextel says quietly, I'm detecting seismic readings consistent with large organism movement. Multiple signatures converging on our landing sites. Converging? The predators aren't fleeing our presence, Commander. They're investigating. In the forest clearing, Dr. James Corvin watches the alien commander with the patience of a man who has spent decades reading the body language of apex predators. Drakus tries to maintain his authoritative stance, but his mandibles twitch with nervous energy. The weapon in his primary hands wavers between Corvin and Luna, unable to decide which represents the greater threat. Your creature, Drakus says finally, his translator struggling with the complex harmonics of his voice. How do you control it? Corvin's hand rests on Luna's massive head, his fingers threading through fur that ripples with barely contained power. I don't control her, Commander. I work with her. Work with it? It's an animal. So are you? The words hang in the air like a challenge. Around the clearing, the other Gorvaxi shift uneasily, their weapons trained on Luna but their confidence visibly shaken. Korvaxson continues, his voice carrying the quiet authority of a teacher explaining fundamental truths. Intelligence takes many forms, Commander. Your species values size, strength, individual power. But true intelligence lies in understanding that cooperation multiplies effectiveness exponentially. Luna's rumble deepens, a sound that vibrates through the ground and into the bones of every creature present. But it's not directed at the aliens. It's directed past them, into the forest, where something answers. The sound that emerges from the tree line makes the Gorvaxi weapons swing wildly toward the shadows. Low, deep, controlled, the vocal signature of another apex predator. Then another and another. What? Drakus begins. Luna called them, Corvin says simply. She told them we had visitors. The first shape emerges from the shadows between the redwoods. Another massive feline, this one bearing the distinctive rosette patterns of a jaguar scaled beyond any earthly proportion. Behind it comes a third, then a fourth. But these aren't wild animals drawn by curiosity. Each one is accompanied by a human. Dr. Isabella Santos steps into the clearing beside her partner Onyx, 700 pounds of enhanced jaguar whose ancestors were modified by conservationists to survive in a changing world. Behind her, Dr. Michael Park emerges with Frost, an Arctic cat whose pale coat seems to absorb light itself. James. Isabella calls softly, her eyes never leaving the towering aliens. Everything all right? Just having a conversation about the natural order, Corvan replies. Dracosh stares in growing horror as more humans appear, each accompanied by predators that shouldn't exist. Not just cats, wolves the size of ponies, birds of prey with wingspans that block out the sun, even a massive bear that moves with the fluid grace of a natural dancer. Impossible, he whispers. This violates every principle of evolutionary biology. Predator species don't form alliances. Your predator species don't, Isabella corrects gently. Ours do, Dr. Park adds. When your world is trying to kill you every day, you learn to make friends with everything that's trying to kill you slightly less. The circle of human-predator partnerships widens, until the clearing contains representatives of humanity's most impossible achievement, not the conquest of their world's apex hunters, but their recruitment as allies. Dracosheb's communicator crackles to life. Commander, this is Scout Team 7. We're surrounded by massive predators, but they're not attacking. They're just watching. Commander, they're with humans. Scout Team 12 to Commander. We've encountered a pack of wolves larger than any creature in our databases. But Commander, they're taking orders from creatures a third their size. Team 15. Commander, you need to see this. These humans, they're riding their predators. Riding them. The reports flood in from across the planet, each one describing the same impossible scene. Humans working alongside creatures that should devour them without a second thought. Your species, Draco says slowly, his voice stripped of its earlier arrogance. Your species domesticated your apex predators. Domesticated? Corvan shakes his head. No, Commander. We formed partnerships, alliances, mutual benefit arrangements. We provide intelligence, tools, medical care. They provide strength, speed, sensory capabilities we lack. But why would they agree to such arrangements? The question hangs in the air until Luna herself provides the answer. The massive tiger steps forward, her golden eyes fixed on Draco's face. When she speaks, and there's no other word for the controlled vocalizations that emerge from her throat, the translation software struggles to parse sounds no earth feline should be capable of making. Because, the device finally renders, hunting together is better than hunting alone. The Gorvaki commander staggers backward, his weapon clattering to the ground. The implications crash over him like a tidal wave of impossibility. Not only had they discovered a death world, they'd discovered a death world whose inhabitants had achieved the unthinkable. They'd turned their predators into allies. And if the predators were this formidable, what did that make the humans? Aboard the Hegemony's Pride, Fleet Commander Thakalmor receives the impossible reports from across Earth's surface. Each scout team describes the same scenario, humans working alongside predators that defy classification, not pets, not domesticated animals. Partners. Sir, Yextel reports, his voice strained with disbelief. Preliminary analysis of the human-predator interactions suggests a level of interspecies communication previously thought impossible. These creatures are exchanging complex information. Define complex. Tactical information, Commander. The predators are coordinating their movements based on human intelligence gathering. They're sharing sensory data. They're operating as integrated units. Thakalmor stares at the tactical display showing his forces scattered across the planet's surface. Each blue dot representing Gorvaki warriors now surrounded by red markers indicating predators. Predators that were no longer behaving like animals. Communications, he orders. Get me the Consortium High Command. Emergency priority. The main screen flickers, revealing the crystalline form of High Coordinator Zenthkar. his mineral body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that indicate extreme agitation. Fleet Commander, the coordinator's translated voice resonates with harmonic overtones. Your reports make no sense. A species with minimal physical capabilities forming alliances with apex predators. Impossible. I'm transmitting live feeds from the surface. High Coordinator, see for yourself. The tactical displays shift to show multiple live feeds from Gorvaki helmet cameras. Scene after scene of humans working alongside creatures that dwarf them in size and lethality. A human woman running beside a wolf, whose shoulder height matches her own. A human male perched on the back of a bear that could crush tanks. Children, actual young humans playing with predators that could swallow them whole. This defies every principle of evolutionary biology. Zentkar's patterns shift to colors indicating confusion. How did such partnerships evolve? Science Officer Yexted activates the analysis displays. Preliminary data suggests these relationships developed over centuries of coevolution. The humans modified their predators through selective breeding and genetic enhancement. But more significantly, the predators modified the humans. Modified them how? Enhanced reflexes, improved communication capabilities, heightened sensory awareness. High Coordinator, these humans aren't just tool users. They've become something unprecedented. A species that enhanced itself through symbiosis with its predators. The silence that follows stretches until it becomes oppressive. Finally, Zentkar speaks, his harmonic patterns indicating deep concern. Fleet Commander, what are your tactical recommendations? Thiktimor studies the displays showing his forces surrounded but not yet attacked. The humans and their predator allies wait with the patience of creatures that understand time is on their side. High Coordinator, I recommend immediate withdrawal. This species represents an unknown variable. We need time to study them, understand their capabilities before. Commander, Communications Officer Kakathul interrupts. Incoming transmission from the planetary surface. They're hailing us. Who's hailing us? The humans, sir. And Commander, they're using our own communication protocols. The main screen shifts, revealing a human face that looks impossibly young and fragile compared to the Gorvaki features. But the eyes hold intelligence and determination and something else that makes even Thakmor uncomfortable. Greetings, the human says, his voice calm and measured. I am Dr. Elizabeth Cameron, representing the Earth Defense Council. I understand you've made contact with some of our field researchers. Earth Defense Council. Thakmor recovers his composure with effort. You speak as though you were expecting us. Oh, we were. Dr. Cameron smiles, an expression that should convey friendliness but somehow appears predatory. We've been monitoring your approach for the past 3 days. Quite impressive ships, by the way. Our scientists are very excited to study your technology. You're in no position to make demands, human. Your species is primitive, weak. Commander, Dr. Cameron interrupts gently. I think there's been a misunderstanding about our capabilities. Perhaps your surface teams could provide better intelligence. The screen splits, showing feeds from multiple Gorvaki units, each one surrounded by circles of human-predator partnerships that have grown steadily larger. We'd like to invite you to formal first contact negotiations, Dr. Cameron continues. I think you'll find our terms quite reasonable. Terms? Thakmor's voice rises. You speak as though you're in a position to negotiate. Dr. Cameron's smile widens, showing teeth that seem far too sharp for a prey species. Commander, you have approximately 40 ships in orbit around our world. We have 6 billion humans on the surface, each one partnered with predators that your own sensors confirm can kill your soldiers in single combat. You have superior technology, we have superior numbers and the home field advantage. She pauses, letting the mathematics sink in. So yes, Commander. I believe we are in a position to negotiate. The screen goes dark, leaving the Gorvaki command center in stunned silence. Outside the viewports, Earth turns slowly in space, its blue-green surface looking deceptively peaceful. But now Thakmor sees it for what it truly is, not a garden world ripe for conquest, but a fortress defended by the most dangerous alliance the galaxy has ever seen. An alliance between intelligence and instinct, between tool users and predators, between humanity and the creature's evolution spent millions of years designing to kill. And deep in his ancestral memory, Fleet Commander Thakmor feels something his species hasn't experienced in 3 millennia: fear. In the forest clearing, Dr. James Corven watches the Gorvaki warriors with the calm assessment of a scientist observing a particularly interesting specimen. "You're afraid," he says quietly. Prakash straightens, trying to reclaim his earlier authority. "Gorvaxi, fear nothing." "Your species fears nothing," Corvan agrees. "But right now you're beginning to understand that you're not dealing with just another species." Luna shifts beside him, her movement fluid and controlled around the clearing. The other predators maintain their positions, not threatening but ready. Always ready. "What are you?" Dracosh asks. And for the first time since the aliens arrived, his voice carries genuine curiosity rather than contempt. Corvan considers the question seriously. What happens when a species refuses to be prey? When intelligence decides that survival means partnership rather than domination? When evolution gets creative? Impossible. Predator species don't form alliances. Your predator species don't, Isabella Santos corrects from across the clearing. Because your worlds didn't give them reasons to. Dr. Park adds, "Commander, what happens on a world where everything is trying to kill you? Where the weather alone can end civilizations? Where the planet itself is actively hostile to life?" "You adapt," Dracosh says automatically. "Exactly. You adapt, and sometimes adaptation means accepting that the creature trying to kill you might have the same problems you do. The same enemies. The same challenges." Corvan's hand moves to rest on Luna's massive shoulder. "Our ancestors looked at the apex predators sharing their world and asked a simple question: what if we worked together instead of competing? The answer," Luna's translated voice adds, "was that together, we became something new." Dracosh stares at the massive feline with growing comprehension. "You're not just predators anymore, you're something else. Partners," Corvan confirms. "Allies. Family." The alien commander's communicator crackles with incoming transmissions, reports from across the planet, each describing the same impossible alliance. His fleet, the most powerful force the consortium has ever assembled, held in check by partnerships that shouldn't exist. "What do you want from us?" he asks finally. Corvan's smile is gentle, understanding. "The same thing we want from any new species we encounter, Commander. To learn, to share, to see if perhaps you might be interested in a different way of doing things." "Different how?" "Cooperation instead of conquest. Partnership instead of domination. Evolution instead of stagnation." Luna's rumble deepens, and around the clearing every predator present adds their voice to the sound. "Not a threat, an invitation." "Your choice, Commander," Korvac says quietly. "You can try to take our world by force and discover what happens when 6 billion humans and their partners decide you're a threat to our family. Or you can learn something new." Dracosh looks around the clearing at the impossible alliance surrounding him. Humans and predators working as one, evolution and intelligence combined into something unprecedented in galactic history. And for the first time in his long military career, he begins to understand that the Gorvaxi might not be the apex species they've always believed themselves to be. The universe, it seems, still has surprises. And some of those surprises have very, very sharp teeth. The negotiation chamber aboard the Hegemony's Pride has been hastily modified to accommodate both Gorvaki physiology and human requirements. The massive conference table, designed for creatures 12 feet tall, now sports a raised platform that brings the human delegation to eye level with their alien counterparts. Dr. Elizabeth Cameron sits across from Fleet Commander Thakmor, her hands folded calmly on the polished metal surface. Behind her, the human delegation appears almost comically small compared to the towering Gorvaki. But there's nothing amusing about the predators that rest beside each human chair. Luna lies beside Dr. Corvin's seat, her golden eyes tracking every movement in the room with the lazy attention of a hunter who knows she's the deadliest thing present. Beside Dr. Cameron, a massive wolf introduced as Fenrace, maintains perfect stillness while somehow radiating coiled energy. Other predators fill the chamber: bears, great cats, raptors, each one bonded to a human partner in ways that defy every principle of evolutionary biology. The Gorvaki understand. "Before we begin," Dr. Cameron says, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's atmospheric processors. "I'd like to establish some ground rules." The Commodor's mandibles click with barely suppressed irritation. "You are in no position to dictate terms, human." "Actually," Dr. Cameron replies with unshakable calm, "I think we are." Computer. Display current tactical situation. The chamber's holographic systems activate, revealing a three-dimensional map of Earth's surface. Blue markers indicate Gorvaki positions, scout teams, research stations, landing sites. Around each blue marker, red dots bloom like spreading infections. "Your forces," Dr. Cameron explains, "are currently outnumbered approximately 800 to 1. And that's just counting the predators our sensors can track." Science Officer Yexatal leans forward, his translation device struggling with harmonic overtones of disbelief. "Impossible. Our scans indicate your total population at 6 billion. You cannot have 800 predators for every individual." Dr. Cameron's smile could cut steel. "You're thinking too small, officer. You've been scanning for large predators, creatures over a certain size threshold. But you're forgetting something fundamental about Earth, which is, everything here is a predator." The holographic display shifts, revealing new data streams. The red markers multiply exponentially as the scanning parameters adjust to include smaller life forms. Creatures that had been dismissed as insignificant suddenly register as threats. Pack hunters, the size of house cats, but with intelligence rivaling dolphins. Aerial swarms that could strip a Gorvaki to bone in minutes. Aquatic predators whose venom could kill creatures 10 times their size. 6 billion humans, Dr. Cameron continues conversationally, each one bonded to multiple predator species through centuries of co-evolution. "We don't just partner with the apex predators, Commander. We partner with all of them." Takamush stares at the display as the true scope of Earth's defensive capabilities becomes clear. Not just a world of survivors, a world where everything that lived had been integrated into humanity's alliance. "But why?" he asks finally. "Why would you ally yourselves with creatures that could destroy you?" Dr. Corvin leans forward, his hand resting on Luna's massive head. "Because they don't want to destroy us, Commander. They want to hunt with us." "Hunt? What?" The question hangs in the air until Luna herself provides the answer. The massive tiger rises to her feet with fluid grace, her presence suddenly filling the chamber with predatory intensity. "Pray," she says through the translation matrix, her voice carrying harmonics that make every Gorvaki in the room step backward. "Always. There is. But what could possibly require such massive cooperative hunting efforts?" Yextiel asks. The humans exchange glances, quick, meaningful communications that speak of shared knowledge and hard-won experience. "Computer," Dr. Cameron says quietly, "display geological survey data for Sector 7. The hologram shifts, revealing a cross-section of Earth's crust in the Pacific Ocean. Deep beneath the ocean floor, thermal readings indicate something vast and warm moving through chambers that shouldn't exist. 3 years ago, Dr. Cameron explains, our deep drilling operations awakened something that had been sleeping since the last ice age. Something that makes our surface predators look like house pets. The thermal readings resolve into a shape that defies comprehension, a creature kilometers in length, moving through subterranean passages with purpose and intelligence. Leviathan-class entities, Dr. Corvin adds. Creatures so large they register on seismic monitoring equipment. And they're not alone. More thermal signatures appear on the display. Dozens of them scattered beneath Earth's surface like sleeping giants. Our planet, Dr. Cameron continues, produces predators in response to threats. Always has. When asteroid impacts created mass extinctions, the survivors evolved to be harder to kill. When climate change threatened ecosystems, new hunters emerged to maintain balance. And when something truly dangerous awakens, she gestures to the assembled predators in the chamber. Everything that can hunt gets recruited. Thakmor's claws scrape against the table's surface as understanding dawns. You're not just a planet of predators. You're a planet at war. Constant war, Dr. Cameron confirms. Against threats you can't imagine. Creatures that make your nightmares seem pleasant. And we win these wars the same way we've always won them, by making friends with everything that has teeth. Communications Officer Kikthul's translator crackles with incoming data streams. Commander, we're receiving reports from across the fleet. Long-range sensors are detecting massive movement signatures beneath the planetary surface. Sir, they're heading toward our orbital position. The chamber's displays shift to show space around Earth, where previously invisible thermal patterns begin to emerge from the planet's gravity well. Creatures ascending through atmosphere on trajectories that will intersect with the Gorvaki fleet's position. Flying Leviathans, Dr. Cameron explains casually. They don't appreciate uninvited guests in their airspace. Thenkmore stares at the display in growing horror. The creatures emerging from Earth's atmosphere are larger than his flagship, moving with the graceful precision of natural-born hunters. This is impossible, he whispers. No ecosystem could support predators of such size. No normal ecosystem, Dr. Corvin agrees. But Earth isn't normal, Commander. Earth is what happens when a planet decides to defend itself. Luna's rumble fills the chamber, and every predator present adds their voice to the sound. Not a threat. A call, communication passing between species in harmonics that predate human civilization. Outside the ship's viewports, answering calls begin to echo through space itself. The flying Leviathans respond with vocalizations that vibrate through hulls designed to withstand asteroid impacts. They're talking, Yexto breathes. Of course they're talking, Dr. Cameron says. How do you think we coordinate defensive strategies across an entire planet? Every predator on Earth is part of our communication network, from the smallest pack hunters to the Leviathans. They all share information, coordinate responses, plan tactics. That's impossible. The computational requirements alone would be impossible for a single species. Dr. Cameron interrupts. But we're not a single species anymore, officer. We're an alliance, a collective intelligence spanning millions of predator species, all working toward the same goal, which is survival, protection, making sure that anything that threatens our world understands exactly what it's up against. The ship shudders as something massive passes close to the hull. Through the viewports, a creature the size of a city block glides past, its hide scarred by battles against things even larger than itself. Commander, Kokbithul reports, his voice strained with barely controlled panic. The entities are taking positions around our fleet. They're not attacking, but they're surrounding us. They're evaluating you, Dr. Cameron explains, deciding whether you represent a threat worth eliminating. Thenkmore's claws extend involuntarily as the magnitude of Earth's defensive capabilities becomes clear. Not just a world of predators, a world where every living thing had been integrated into a defensive network spanning continents and reaching into space itself. What do you want from us? He asks finally. Dr. Cameron's expression softens slightly, showing the first hint of genuine emotion since the negotiations began. The same thing we want from any new species we encounter, Commander, to learn, to share knowledge, to see if perhaps your people might be interested in a different approach to survival. Different how? Cooperation instead of conquest. Alliance instead of domination. Understanding that the universe is dangerous enough without making unnecessary enemies. Luna rises to her feet, her massive frame radiating controlled power. When she speaks, her translated words carry the weight of evolutionary wisdom spanning millions of years. Strong species survive alone. Wise species survive together. Thenkmore looks around the chamber at the impossible alliance surrounding him. Humans working with predators that could destroy them. Intelligence partnered with instinct. Evolution guided by cooperation rather than competition. And if we refuse, he asks quietly. Dr. Cameron's smile returns, gentle but absolutely implacable. Then you'll discover what happens when an entire planet decides you're a threat to its family. Outside the ship, the flying Leviathans adjust their positions with military precision. Their calls echo through space, communicating with surface-based predators in coordination networks that span the globe. Waiting. Ready. However, Dr. Cameron continues, if you're interested in learning something new, well, there's always room in our alliance for species that understand the value of cooperation. The chamber falls silent except for the distant rumble of creatures large enough to crack continents. The Commodore stares at the tactical displays showing his fleet surrounded by entities that make Gorvaki warships seem insignificant. For 3 millennia, his species has dominated through size and strength. Now they face something unprecedented, a world that had turned evolution itself into a weapon. What would such an alliance entail, he asks finally. Knowledge sharing, Dr. Cameron replies. Your technology, our biological innovations, your understanding of space travel, our expertise in ecosystem management, your military experience, our approach to conflict resolution. Conflict resolution. De Corvin gestures to Luna, whose presence seems to fill the chamber despite her relaxed posture. When you can partner with apex predators, Commander, very few conflicts require violence to resolve. Most species find cooperation more appealing than the alternative. Luna's rumble deepens, and through the ship's hull answering calls echo from the Leviathans, maintaining position around the fleet. You're not conquerors, Thakmore realizes. You're recruiters. Evolution's recruiters, Dr. Cameron confirms. The universe is dangerous, Commander, full of threats that would challenge even the Gorvaki. But when species work together, when they combine their strengths instead of competing, she gestures to the displays showing Earth's defensive networks. Millions of species working in perfect coordination, intelligence and instinct combined into something greater than the sum of its parts. Together we become something new, something stronger, something that can face whatever the universe throws at us. Outside the viewport, one of the flying Leviathans adjusts course to come alongside the ship. Its hide bears scars from battles against creatures even larger than itself, proof that Earth's defenders have faced threats beyond imagination. And one. Thakmore looks at his science officer, his communications officer, his tactical staff. All of them stare at the displays with expressions of awe and growing understanding. They had come to Earth expecting to find prey. Instead, they had discovered the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. Predators that offered alliance instead of destruction. If we agree to this partnership, Thakmore says slowly, what guarantees do we have that your associates won't decide we're threats? Dr. Cameron's smile becomes genuinely warm for the first time since negotiations began. Commander, you're thinking about this backwards. The question isn't whether they'll accept you. She stands, moving to the viewport where the massive Leviathan maintains its position beside the ship. When she places her hand against the transparent metal, the creature's eye, larger than the entire human delegation, focuses on her with obvious recognition. The question is whether you're ready to become apex predators yourselves. Luna rises to join her, the massive tiger's presence somehow reassuring rather than threatening. When she speaks, her words carry the wisdom of a species that had learned to hunt alongside the ultimate hunters. Pack stronger than individual. Alliance stronger than pack. Family. She pauses, her golden eyes reflecting the light of alien stars. Family strongest of all. Fleet Commander Thakmore stares out at the impossible sight of creatures that could shatter planets working in perfect coordination with beings a fraction of their size. For the first time in his long military career, he begins to understand that strength doesn't come from size or weapons, or the ability to dominate others. Strength comes from knowing who you can trust to hunt beside you. And as he looks at the human delegation, small, fragile creatures who had somehow convinced evolution itself to fight alongside them, he realizes that the Gorvaki have just encountered the most powerful force in the galaxy. Not conquest, not domination, partnership. On behalf of the Gorvaki people, he says formally, I accept your offer of alliance. Dr. Cameron's smile could power starships. Welcome to the family, Commander. Outside the viewport, the flying Leviathan's rumble changes pitch, becoming something that sounds suspiciously like approval. And deep in Earth's oceans, creatures older than continents add their voices to a call that echoes across the galaxy, a sound that speaks of new hunters joining the pack, new allies strengthening the family. The universe has just become a little bit safer, and a lot more dangerous for anything that threatens those who hunt together. In the forest clearing far below, Dr. James Corvin feels Luna's contentment through their bond as the great cat settles beside him. Around them, the other human-predator partnerships begin to disperse, returning to their research in their lives in their quiet guardianship of a world that has learned to defend itself through alliance rather than aggression. Think they'll fit in? He asks quietly. Luna's rumble carries notes of amusement as she watches the alien fleet above adjust their formations to accommodate their new Leviathan escorts. Big predators, always welcome, especially ones who learn fast. Korvac smiles, his hand resting on his partner's massive flank. Above them, the stars shine down on a galaxy that has just become a little more complicated. And somewhere in the deep places of the earth, ancient things stir in their sleep and settle back into comfortable slumber, secure in the knowledge that their world, their family, has grown stronger. The hunt continues. But now it continues together.